What's up guys, good morning, and welcome to the second Solo breakdown in about 12 hours. Lucasfilm's like, oh, you wanted a trailer for Solo? Well, here's two. I was surprised at how much extra footage was in this. Last night I said I hoped we'd get to see a lot more of Alden, and we absolutely got that. So let's break this new trailer down shot by shot. It opens the same way as the teaser, with shots of Han flipping some switches. He says he's been running scams on the streets since he was 10. Right off the bat, that's very similar to his Legends history. He was even younger in the books, but hey, it's close. Seeing him in the speeder is our first actual look at the character, and I say so far so good. I'm getting a feeling like he's even more reckless and more intense, which makes sense given his age. I'm into it. And we see this chase involves a speeder or swoop bike of some sort. I don't know if they're being chased by a gang or police, but it would be crazy cool to see Corsac in this movie. Han goes on to say he was kicked out of Flight Academy for having a mind of his own. First of all, I like the incredulous delivery of that line. What he's saying is technically also true in Legends, but I think this is where things will divert. In the books, he was part of the Imperial Navy for about 5 years and was kicked out for helping Chewbacca escape slavery. It looks like this time around he'll be kicked out for other reasons, and his first meeting with Chewie will take place under different circumstances. That's cool with me. I don't really want to spend too much of this movie following Han's Imperial career. I want to get into the criminal underworld side of things. Our next location is a flyby over the Misty Mountains, and if you listen closely you can hear Gandalf fighting the Balrog. I have no idea what this planet is, but it's gotta be the location of the train sequence we saw in last night's TV spot. Han says he's gonna be the best pilot in the galaxy, and we see two familiar shots from last night. The new and clean Falcon interior, and the exterior on what I'm still assuming is the planet Kessel. We move on to the beach setting that was seen a couple of times in the big game spot. I still have no idea what these ruins or markings are, but I like the idea that they're linked to the Jedi or the Force or something, but I'd love it if that were the case and there was zero mention of it in the movie. Han meets with Woody Harrelson at this mystical site and he doesn't even know or care to know what it is. Woody tells him he's putting together a crew, and we see new shots of Emilia Clarke, the droid I assume is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and of course Lando. Amelia is looking like she doesn't normally work in the criminal underworld, and Lando looks like Lando, smooth as hell. We get a really brief look at Tandy Newton's character, so it looks like she'll be working alongside Han. Her costume is interesting with all these tubes on it. I wonder if they're all for aesthetics or if they have some functional purpose. And the final crew member looks like it's a new space monkey with 4 arms. Next up is a shot of Han looking in on what I'm guessing is a Sabacc game. I think you can see Lando in between his legs, and I bet this is from the same scene as that shot of Lando just seconds before. This could be the Sabacc game where Han wins the Falcon. Also, it's difficult to tell, but there might be a Gran at the table, so those of you hoping for more classic Star Wars species to return can rest easy. Woody asks Han if he's in, and we get some really good looks at Chewie, Han, and Woody. I like that Chewie has a familiar but different look. 2 bandoliers with different ammunition but the same color scheme. It's good to know he hasn't been wearing the exact same thing for 50 years. There's still not much to say about Woody's character. We've been told that he's a mentor to Han, and I'm getting a similar feeling from a Legends character. In Han Solo and the Lost Legacy, Han and Chewie join a crew with a man named Alexander Badur. They both served in the Empire together, and then they both left to become smugglers. I could see the same situation popping up here as Han agrees to join the crew in the movie. Here's another clearer shot at the new droid character. Like I said last night, I'm not saying this droid is bollocks from Star Wars Legends, but there's also nothing here that proves otherwise. In the Han Solo adventures from Legends, Han worked with an old labor droid that was modified to hide a slicer droid named Blue Max in its chest cavity. This new droid does look old, and Max could easily fit in its chest. To be clear, I will be shocked if either droid is actually in this movie, but I just want to spread the word about them because they're fantastic characters. We're now getting a better look at the inside of the Falcon and her old school controls. Now that we're seeing them, I think the shots of Han flipping switches at the start of the teaser are on board the Falcon. I couldn't make that call before because everything looks so different, but we all know Han makes plenty of modifications once he takes ownership. We get a couple new shots of the party that was featured in the TV spot last night. There are Twi'leks in the crowd, and now we know Emilia Clarke's character is there as well. Maybe this is where she and Han meet, or maybe this is part of a con job. I said this last night, but I'm almost positive this is the home or base of Paul Bettany's character. On the beach again, Han prepares to draw his DL-44, facing off against these dudes. The guy in the center is the same guy from the train sequence that was featured in the big game spot, but now we're getting a better look at his armor and his weapon. Like I said last night, I really like the blend of futuristic and primitive technology. We see someone attacking some guards in disguise, and this is really hard to make out and I might be reaching, but that mask looks an awful lot like something we've seen Lando wear before. And this shot looks straight up bonkers. I think what we're seeing is a number of speeder bikes flying away with part of the train that we saw last night. That looks like one of the cars tethered to them. I would love to see a train heist in this. Like I said last night, I'm just a sucker for train sequences. Emilia says she might be the only person that knows what Han really is. Maybe she's telling him she knows that deep down he's a good person. I'm hoping we actually don't see too much of Han's good side. At this point in time, he's supposed to be jaded and caring for nobody but himself. I'm hoping he gets to be a selfish jerk through most of this movie. Next, it looks like we see Han pilot that bigger vessel that was behind the speeder bikes and the train car earlier, and it's fleeing a very strange-looking explosion. It looks like a big water explosion or something. Han asks Emilia what's that in response to her statement, and again, so far I'm very okay with Alden's portrayal of Han. Seeing someone else in the role was my biggest fear for this movie, but I haven't seen anything yet that screams, "Oh no," to me. The title card flies onto the screen, and I've seen some people call it cheap. I get that, and I do kind of agree, but I also kind of like it. It's bright, and it's flashy and fun, and that's what I want from this movie. I want a fun and wild ride. The Last Jedi was heavy. Rogue One was pretty heavy. I want Solo to be treated seriously, but I want it to be a roller coaster. The next shot is of that Star Destroyer in the space storm with the Falcon and the TIE fighters. You can see that new TIE fighter, and you can see the Falcon's updated look. Since it looks so different from what we're used to, I'm wondering if it was custom made for Lando, or maybe that front part is like an optional or aftermarket piece that Lando put on because it looks a little sleeker. As for the new TIE, we can see that it has blasters mounted on that extra little pod. I'm gonna guess wildly that having the guns mounted separately makes room for extra sensor equipment. I think what we're seeing here is the Kessel Run, and maybe this new TIE is some sort of guide. Maybe it's used to lead its squadron safely through whatever dangers are now found in the Kessel Run. Whatever's in there, Chewie and Lando definitely seem concerned about it. We're seeing rocks, which may be an asteroid field, and Han using the Falcon to slam that TIE into one of them is sick. I love that. I like Han's cocky grin, but I'll say that having a self-referential line in the teaser gives me pause. I honestly don't have a problem with this line or the moment. It's not too on the nose, it's just an echo of his boring conversation on the Death Star. The actual line and delivery made me smile. I just don't want the movie to have too many of those. One or two like this is fine, but if someone says something about shooting first or something else really overt like that, it's gonna take me right out of the movie. Anyway, it looks like there are more dangers than just rocks hiding in this storm. Something is alive in there, and it's got a bunch of spiny tentacles. If that is the Kessel Run, I think we're gonna see something different from its Legends interpretation. Back then it was near a cluster of black holes, and the shorter paths through the cluster were the most dangerous. I'm gonna guess that the shorter paths in this scenario are more densely populated with rocks and tentacle monsters, so the same basic idea holds up, but we might be abandoning the black holes. And with that, the trailer comes to a close. I am surprised at how much new footage was in this. It still wasn't what I'd call a full trailer, but it is labeled as a teaser. So I imagine sometime in March or April, we'll see a full 2.5-minute trailer that gives us more about the story itself. I think it was important that they gave us a lot more of Alden as Han than the TV spot last night did. They delivered, and while I'm not going to run around my house screaming about how Alden is the new Han Solo, from what I've seen so far, I don't feel concerned. Nothing threw up any red flags for me. Most importantly, this movie just looks like fun. I'm into it. But I want to know what you guys think too. What shots did you like? Who or what do you want to know more about? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.